Hello, all, and welcome to today's coaching roundtable. I am very excited to be here with you all. You all are piling into this room. This is going to be a really fun hour. I hope everybody came here to have a really good time, get your questions answered, get super inspired. I am going to start bringing my coaches up here on stage. They're going to start joining me, and then we are going to dive right in. Welcome, Carly. Welcome, Gregory. Welcome, Tyler. Everybody's looking so good as per usual. I've got Lauren coming in. Hope, welcome to the call. So excited to have you here. We've got Anissa coming into the room. We got Lauren hopping in. I think we are good to go, my friends. And we have a jam-packed room full of people excited to have their questions answered. Okay, y'all, let me explain to the room exactly how this is going to work. And I'm going to, as per usual, burn a few minutes chatting and vamping like I like to do. And then we're going to dive into the questions. So what we're going to do is we do have several pre-submitted questions that we're going to start with. There she is. And then I want to take as many questions from the room as we possibly can. Lauren, welcome. This is our coaching family, y'all. I was sharing earlier, I think it was in town hall, I was talking about how this idea of the coaches roundtable really was organic. It's not something I had like a vision for, and this is just part of my perfect plan. What I definitely noticed, and I think everybody in this room will echo, is there was this amazing synergy and energy and just like magic, if you will, that would happen when a group of us were together answering one question. And it's just the simplest, most amazing thing. And I couldn't have planned it, and I couldn't have asked for it, and I couldn't have trained for it. It's just something very special that happens when this beautiful group of humans comes together to support and advise and share. And so I feel I've just had chills like all day thinking about this. I'm really excited to kind of just share a slice of this magic with everybody in the room today. So I'm going to very quickly, we're not going to do deep intros because we only have an hour and it's going to go by quick, but I'm going to go around the room really fast, sharing with you who we have here on our coaching floor. And then we're just going to dive into the questions. I'll share how this works. We have Coach Carly, who is a certified pricing specialist. We have Coach Gregory, who comes to us as a social media specialist. We have the incredible Coach Tyler, who's also on the social media side of the family. We have the incredible Hope, who is joining us as a website specialist, as well as Anissa, who's coming from the same side of things, another website specialist. And of course, the incredible Lauren, who is our target market and branding specialist. And we are going to dive into anything and everything today. So like I mentioned, we are going to start with pre-submitted questions, but if you have questions for the room, you can enter them into the Q&A here in Zoom, or you can enter them into the chat. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. It is much easier for me to follow along to the questions in the Q&A button, just something to keep in mind, but we're going to keep eyes open on everything. And the way that this works roundtable style is I'm going to choose a question. I'm going to pitch it to somebody to start, and we're going to get a few opinions on the question. I think you're going to get an interesting dynamic and a good variety of feedback through this process. So let's start with a question from Lindsay. Lindsay asks, do you have any suggestions for recruiting stylists? We've tried job postings online and approaching local hair schools. We only offer extension services and haircuts because we're a chemical-free salon. So finding a stylist who is willing to work without doing color services feels very tricky. This is such a great question. And Hope, I would actually like you to tackle it first if you would join me here on the call.
Yes. Hey, Lindsay. Okay. So I'm going to be super transparent and say that I struggled with hiring for years. I've had my salon for over 13 years now, and we really, really struggled. We are a full service salon and spa at this point, but we did start out as just bridal, which is also like super, super niche. We are still super, super bridal focused. So it is something that quote unquote is mandatory for our stylists to perform at the moment. Something that really kind of like turned on the faucet for me was a couple things. So number one, Coach Lauren actually helped me with this. So we had a careers page on our website, and it was like, all the normal stuff, like here's what we offer, here's how you get paid, yada, yada. And then it was like, top 6 things or reasons, why you'd want to work here. So like, here's all the cool stuff that we're going to give you and do for you. Like, come join our team. and it's like crickets, right? So, when we started doing like all of the training for this, it was kind of like, what's everybody's pain point? Because we all have them, even as coaches. Like the more you level up in your business, you just get new ones, unfortunately. And it was like, okay, hiring is a big thing. Everything else in my business is going really great. And so we took a really big deep dive, and it was like, okay, you do this. Why? Okay, you do this. Why? So I really started getting super concise in my language on there as to like the why behind every little what. And something else that I thought was super interesting that I had never thought of was our number one reason why you should come and work there was we were like a big family. You know what Lauren said to me? She said, you know what families do to each other? Terrible things. And in my family, like that was not my experience. But when I really thought about it, like that is the reality of so many other people. I've just been super blessed that I haven't really had to deal with that. But then when I really thought about it, my mom's family does terrible things to each other. So we don't all get together on Christmas anymore. I haven't seen my dad's side of the family in like 15 years because they all do terrible things to each other. It's just my immediate family that I've been lucky enough to have with that. So we really changed our verbiage because we're a team. And what I was really trying to get across with that was we are a team. We have each other's backs. And it's like, okay, if I'm going to be a coach of a baseball team, what is that going to look like? What's that team going to do? And it's like, pull each other up when things are going wrong. We're going to help, say, hey, you're pitching today, like not great. I have some ideas on how we're going to help you with that. And that's what my team and my salon really does. So we really changed to confirm the verbiage around a team. Second thing I did was change our social media. So I was really worried that if I showed a ton of us, that it was going to deter clients. Like showing a ton of us and talking about what we do, not just with the services, but like as a place to work. I was like, yeah, but clients don't care. Honestly, clients care more. Like our posts like that, people freaking love it. And it'll get like 50 likes. And then we'll post like a beautiful before and after, it gets like 5. And you're like, really? So honestly, our business has grown even more by showing up and posting pictures of team dinners and Christmas parties, us working together, just those team photos, whether they're individual or actually a group shot. And then talking about what we do and the why behind it, not just from a client perspective, but from an employee perspective, has really been like a huge, huge game changer for us and has actually really leveled up our customer experience overall. And our customers love to see that too.
Absolutely love that perspective, Hope. That was such a game changer. And I remember you sharing in the chat, I mean, this is months ago now, you made like really simple adjustments to your website and you were like, oh my gosh, everything has changed. I still remember that day. You're like, now we're like flooded with applicants, and you've not struggled to attract stylists ever, but it's like you opened the floodgate and it changed pretty quickly.
We did. Yeah, we just hired 5 people in the last 90 days and we turned away 3.
Yep.
We're not really actively looking to hire at this moment because we're trying to get everybody trained, but like, that's exactly what we want. Like I want a resume drawer where I have a wait list and I can pull people out of, and like, we're almost there. Like we have another 15% to go and I will have that resume drawer. So, patience is key too.
It's a long game. It's a long game. Lauren, did you have something to add?
One thing we also caught on Hope's like careers page was that we coach to showing testimonials for like our clients, or like showing that we're the secret sauce, that we're amazing. And so something that we really talked about with Hope was that to ensure showing pictures of her stylist being really happy, but also having testimonials from her stylist working about why they loved working there. And I think that's also something really huge because you're just solidifying in the proof of stylist's eyes that it's also a great place to work as well. So I think that adding testimonials was huge for you as well. It was a great win.
Totally and completely agreed. And Hope, I want to share with you, thank you for your transparency, because it's been neat. Even as a coaching team, we're our own collective, and sharing wins amongst each other has been incredible. And Hope was very open in sharing that with us. It's very inspiring. Tyler, what would you like to add?
I caught that her pain point was that she's an extension only salon. And as an extension only stylist, and a salon owner, I can totally understand how that would be very, very tricky because we spend all of our careers or most of our even beauty school education, not on extensions, but on all of the other things. So that could be a really, really hard thing to approach as a hairstylist and as a salon owner. So I think that if you're going to approach this, you need to make sure that your education is top notch. They have to understand that they're going to be supported as a stylist, not just thrown into this where almost everything else they've ever learned is kind of like in the back burner, but they need to know that they're going to be constantly supported to grow and learn as the education world expands, honestly. And then to make sure that you understand why that would be a good fit for only certain stylists. Some stylists are just not meant to have a really high maintenance clientele. And anytime that you're doing a specialty service, you have to make sure that that stylist is able to like really read into that luxury extensive service. And it's okay that not just because they do the work, that if their mindset isn't there and if their customer service isn't there, if they don't, one thing I've noticed is like the little things. My clients will text me if a bead goes missing, and if that's going to spin someone up, it's okay that that's just not a good fit for them or for your salon team as the right fit. So that's my suggestion as an extension stylist.
Thank you for digging into like the meat of that, because that totally slipped my mind as we went on. Thank you for bringing that back around, Tyler. And what it brought up for me, I think everybody at this point knows my daughter just recently graduated cosmetology school and is waiting for her state board exam. And so I'm truly just her mom. Like that's our relationship. I'm not a business coach to her in any way. And so I'm listening to what she's saying and hearing her thoughts, and I'm becoming very well aware that she does not know what she doesn't know. She has no idea what she doesn't know. And especially as a new graduate, you are so naive to what is actually the reality of the industry. And there are some amazing departmentalized salons here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they are like a no-go zone for her, because to her, she can't even fathom the idea that you wouldn't do just everything. It seems backwards. But to what Tyler was saying, it's kind of like lack of education of like, but wait, there are all these other really great ways to work. And I think if we as salon owners can show, listen, this is a path that could work for you, this is what it would look like, and really digging into why maybe going a specialty direction could be a benefit for the right person. I think being really transparent in that and kind of linking that back to what Hope was saying, like thinking about the verbiage on your website, how are you positioning yourself, would make a huge difference for somebody who's at a crossroads or trying to decide where to go. Huge. Okay, should we dig into a question about pricing? Okay, this one comes from Michaela. And Michaela, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because she phonetically spelled her name just to be sure I would say it correctly. She must know I'm a name butcherer, and I really appreciate it. Michaela says, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out exactly what I should be charging for my services based on my area of location. I'm in upstate New York, and what I actually need to bring in to sustain my business. Now, I want to give a tiny bit of context. I'm going to assume, Michaela, I don't know if you're on the call. Let us know if you are. But I'm going to assume that maybe she's in a position where she's in an area where maybe the calculator tells you that the average income is one thing, but maybe what you know about your area is another. Or maybe you're in an area where lifestyles really vary. I mean, even 5-10 miles down the road. And so trying to figure out, like, hold on a second, where do I start with my pricing? I'm going to assume it's coming from that standpoint. So let's just speak from there if we can. And Carly, I'm obviously going to pitch it to you first.
I would love to answer that. So I think it kind of ties in with target market and branding. So it kind of starts there when you're going through and doing your demographic and psychographic factors, really deeply understanding exactly who your target market is, what their occupation is, what their income, what are the things they like to do, all of that first. Once you have a really clear understanding of that, I would say if you're in an area where the annual income is, maybe I'm making up numbers, but it's 50,000, but you know that you really want to attract people that are in the city next to you where the annual income's 90,000, you are totally welcome to put that into the calculator. You're welcome to kind of go off of the target market that you're trying to attract. I would just make sure that you have that really like solid foundation of your target market, so that it's not just, I want to attract somebody who makes 100K. That's cool. That's a lovely thing to say, but we want to make sure that we're really grounded in who around us is actually making that kind of money? What kind of occupation are they doing? Are they going to come to your salon? What is it about your salon that's going to attract somebody at that level? So I think it just has to be kind of rooted in that. But you can absolutely put whatever number you wanted to into the calculator. It will adjust the suggested price.
I do this, I mute and then I talk. I totally agree. Do you feel like, I think for a lot of people, there's this fear of like, but what if I do it wrong? Like, but what if I choose the wrong number? What if I choose 90,000 because that's the more high end, income for my area, but I made a mistake. Like, how do you get over that fear of, but what if I do it wrong?
I think it is challenging with the mindset, right? It's everything within pricing, I feel like, and maybe in all business is mindset work. But there is no doing it wrong. You put a calculation in, right? Especially if you're working on the calculator and you put a 90,000 in and you look over at the suggested price and it says, well, now I need to do a 40% increase to get there. Well, something is off. So there's like a clear thing there that's saying maybe we need to like rein that in a little bit because you can't do a 40% increase right now. Maybe that could be something you could work towards. Let's work on making sure you are really speaking to that target market. You're providing that perceived value, but we have to make sure that we're not doing an increase that's going to be that explosive. But the worst case is you set your pricing for a particular target market and you spend 3 to 4 months charging those prices and you find out that the market is just not there. That's the worst case scenario. And I feel like in that case, then we just need to go back and review. And it's constantly, I think with your business, you're constantly going through every 3 to 6 months and kind of reviewing where you're at in your business. And so sometimes you just have to make that leap.
I love that you said that because has anybody in this room ever made like a mistake in their business, a mistake in their pricing, a mistake in their social media, a mistake in their website? Gregory's like burying his head in his hands. I'm raising my, like all of us have made mistakes and you let it ride for a couple of months and you're like, well, this definitely isn't working. And then you go back and you fix it. And I think that there's very few things we can do in business that are irreconcilably broken, like that there's no turning back. There's very few things where that would be the circumstance. Almost everything is very figure outable. So thank you for giving that like grace of it's okay. So try it. And if it doesn't work, we go backwards and it's no problem.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have anything to add on that? Okay. I actually want to go back to a question. Lauren, I know you saw in the chat. I think it's from Katya. I think that's how you say her name. I'd love to know everybody's take on this. Is gifting your stylist's education a good idea? And I would, Katya, if you can give us even more context in the chat, I would love it. Oh yeah, we got hands up. I would love to know what gifting stylist education means to you, because I could see that in a couple of different contexts. So any more information you could provide would be great. Gregory, I'm going to go to you first because we haven't heard from you yet today. Please.
Thank you. I couldn't find the unmute button. So as an owner of a very large salon team, I think we're up to 25 people now, especially hiring young kids out of school that do feel lacking, if you will, in education. I think that gifting it, depending on what that means to you, is kind of a non-negotiable at this point. For me, for multiple reasons. So like we do monthly touch bases, like a training and development day, and that's part technical and it's also part customer experience. And it's a chance for all of us to get together and brainstorm about what we want to move forward with in the future, like what our problem points are, instead of just trying to like throw a quick solution at it. We come together as a team, talk about what we need to elevate, whether that's education on customer experience, marketing, or education on like our technical skill set. And we plan that like quarters in advance so that we can touch on those pain points for them as team members. And that's part of my marketing too, to get new team members. We talk about this and it's on our website and all that good stuff. So I do think that it's a great idea to give education to your team.
Okay, love that. I have one clarifying question to you, and then I want to go to Hope and Lauren. Have you ever had anybody buck the system and be like, I don't need that education. I'm not interested in that.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, and what's this? Because I have too. What is the solution there? How have you navigated that?
So early on, I was a people pleaser, and I just said yes to anybody because that's what I wanted to do to be a good boss. I wanted to give them everything that they wanted. And there was no structure behind that, and there was no culture behind that. So at this point, when I hire people, it's part of the conversation that like, this is an integral part of our business and how we operate and who we are. And if that sounds great to you, fantastic. But if you feel like you've already kind of reached this plateau and you don't need this anymore, then we might not just be the best fit. And that's totally fine, because there's somebody out there that will be a great fit. But in order to like excel and be part of my team and our team, we constantly want to learn and we constantly want to share with each other. It's not proprietary information.
I love that. And I love the clarification of it's just what we do here. And if you don't want to do it, it's totally fine, but it is what we do here. So just might not be for you, and that's okay. But that clarification of we are all a team, nobody's too good for anything. This is just how we roll. I really like that. Hope, I'm going to toss it your way.
Okay, so I have like a real life example coming up. Well, actually I have a couple. Okay, so in October, the hair care brand that we use hosts what they call Global Forum. It's basically like a 3-day educational seminar. It's in Orlando. So I told my stylists that they could earn their tickets, their flights, their hotel stay, everything for free. And we set benchmarks for it that were in line with like the KPIs that they're already needing to meet as a part of the team with their goals and all of that. But it was like in correspondent to that. So it's kind of me gifting them, but also being like, you're going to have to do a little more, you know? So it benefits everybody because they see turnaround in the long run. Like one of the girls just got a promotion and a price increase because she's been working so hard over the last few months to earn all of this. So not only is she basically earning an entire trip for 8 days for free, she also just leveled up to get all of these promotions. So it benefits her in her everyday career as well. I also told them, okay, we're going to go to Disney, duh, like it's at Disney. So I said, if you go, I will gift everybody a free day at Disney. Like I will pay for your hotel, I'll pay for your tickets in the park, I'll pay for all of your food. So I was like, even if you do nothing to earn this ticket and you end up paying like the $2,000 it costs to go, you're getting a free day at Disney. Well, they ended up saying, we're really excited. We want to pay for our own day at Disney. So now we're all going to Disney for 2 days. So I love how that works out. And a lot of that is really culture-based. We did the same thing for Thrivers Live in 2022. So pretty much all of my team came except those that were like brand new at the time. And one gal that just she's a new mom, so she was unable to come. But we did the same thing, and they only ended up spending like a few $100s, and we were VIP to be able to come, and we were able to take the whole team for that. So they got the amazing VIP experience there for really not that much out of pocket. And I think it's good. And with kind of what Gregory was saying, like, do you ever get pushback? It's really funny at my salon because I do not get pushback. However, my couple of senior stylists, I don't get pushback because they step in and are like, what do you mean you're not coming? Well, you want to work here, don't you? And like, it doesn't even ever get to me because they handle it, because it's just the culture that we have built. And so honestly, sometimes my senior stylist, right or wrong, kind of peer pressure the younger stylists into doing things. And it's so funny because those younger stylists have never come back and said, well, that was stupid. They have always come back and said, I'm so glad that you talked me into doing this. And then they're like totally on board with everything else.
I love all of that for 1,000 reasons. One, it shows that like cultures from the top. So in a lot of salons, like definitely in salons I've been in, the top is like untouchable, right? It's the stylist that salon owners are scared to manage because they're so afraid that they're going to leave and they don't want to do anything and they think they run the show and they make their own rules. That's like very stereotypical senior stylist mentality. But the reality is, and Hope just proves it, when you have strong culture, the top sets the tone and the tone is strong. It's not weak. And what happens is if the top is weak and the top does think they're better than everybody else and the leader is scared of the top, what happens is it all trickles down and it creates a horrible culture throughout of like, well, this is, education's kind of weak, but ultimately you won't have to do it. You'll graduate to a place where you don't have to go to Orlando. You'll graduate to a place where you don't have to do anything. And it looks like that is the growth path, that education is this annoying thing you have to do until the day where you graduate beyond it. And it's the opposite of what you actually want. The other thing I think is important that both of these people said is that these are commission salon owners. And this is a huge part of the reason I can't buy into the idea that commission salons suck or that commission is bad or that commission mistreats people. you'll find good, bad, and ugly business owners anywhere you look. But I'm a huge fan of the commission model for the reason that these two both just explained. It opens up doors and opportunities that don't exist in a lot of other places and spaces. Can there be amazing booth rental salons? Absolutely. But when you hear what these people are doing, I mean, it's like salon goals, big time. Lauren, what do you have to add?
So I'm actually going to say something a little different, just because coming from my own personal experience, that like, yes, I think that I agree with like Coach Gregory that like education is non-negotiable, but I think it depends on the guise of how education is the carrot that is dangled. Okay. Like, I don't think that you're going to get away with mandatory education that isn't always aligned with, like, if it's in your values and it's in your culture as well. But I am my own independent human who has my own path in life too. And I spent a lot of time in a career going to classes that I was mandated to go to that did not grow my career at all. So I think that if you're going to incentivize the programs to also allow your stylist to have some say in that as well. Like, I think that if you want to grow your customer experience and you bring someone in to teach people about selling retail or having better customer experience, that's something that as stylists we can all grow across. But if your journey in life is to become a master platinum blonding expert and you continuously are only given education for clipper cuts, root retouches, if you're familiar with some of the other salons, you'll get education that is from, say, like Redken, and it comes on down and you're in a room with 30 people and you really just don't get that much from it. You only get to maybe share half a head with someone. A lot of hairstylists get trapped into non-competes and they must pay back education that does not succeed their career after they leave those salons. So I think that like, also think deeply about your career and your culture in your salon to ensure that you also recognize that these people are people who have futures and dreams and goals that may take them outside of their salon, and that locking them into a place does not help your salon either. And that, like, get some information from them, let them earn the money towards the education and possibly use it towards the things that could further their career that would make them truly happy. So I'm going to shift the conversation just a little bit there, just from my own personal experience.
I absolutely love it. And thank you for sharing from your own personal experience, because I think everybody, you know, in this lifetime wants to feel seen and heard. And it's important to have opportunities that serve whole humans, and for salon leaders to understand, you know, what it is their team is looking for, and making sure that there's a deep understanding all the way through of whatever everybody's goals and ambitions are, not projecting, you know, our goals as a leader onto the rest of our team, and really listening and having those important conversations and connections. Such a great point. And I appreciate the alternative perspective. This is what this is all about. So good. Okay. I want to take a question from Mariana. So Mariana says, help. I've been a stylist for over 25 years. I'm completely booked with a mix of older clients, older pricing, and newer clients, newer pricing. I raised my prices in October to help bring older clients closer to the new pricing. We've seen how this story plays out, my friends. I'm booked out for 8 weeks. It's hard to book new clients because I'm so filled with old clients. I started not pre-booking out so far, only a month out to help with that. I'm not seeing a lot of new guest requests through social media, not my strong point. I've seen more through referrals. So my question is, where should I start? Do I raise my prices again? What if I lose clients and I'm not seeing an influx of new ones because I'm not seeing that right now? Should I start a kick-ass referral program first, then raise the prices? I'm all over the place. I don't know where to start. A lot of moving parts and pieces here. And I think we can all agree, like, when it feels like a lot of moving parts and pieces, it's overwhelming, because where do you start? There's so much to unpack. Does anybody want to take this off the jump? Otherwise, I'm going to pick somebody I have my eye on. Carly, to you. I saw your hand first. Actually, no, we're going to shake it up. Anissa, we have not heard from you today. Anissa, I hand you the mic.
All right. Yeah. So that is a lot of moving pieces and parts, but I think the most important thing to address is your mindset on why are you charging a different price from your older clientele to your newer clientele. I feel like until you address that mindset, you're not going to be you're going to continue staying lost. You really got to get to the core of why are you charging different prices for different people? I think once you can get to the core of that and get that sorted out in your mind, other things are going to fall into place and make more sense. So my initial thing is figure that out, get to the core of that. Is it you feel bad for charging them more? Is it like I'm assuming there's some sort of emotional connection and you feel like you're doing a disservice by charging them what other people are. At the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to yourself and the rest of your clientele. It gets super messy when one client's being charged one thing, another client's being charged another. It doesn't create a seamless experience. It creates a lot of chaos. And now it's manifesting in, what do I even do from here? Because there isn't that streamlined experience in your salon. And I've had this experience. I think all of us have at one point or another, you know, charge people different pricing for whatever reasons that we had. I can tell you, when you take that step forward and you do decide to make that decision to have everything consistent across the board, things really do fall into place. I had some family members or like old family friends that I was charging a different rate. And I'm like, I just won't tell them that I raised my rates. I'm just going to keep them at this rate and charge everyone else at this point, until I got to the point where I was too booked out. And I was like, I started becoming almost like resentful of those people that I wasn't charging as much. And it wasn't their fault. They didn't know that I was giving them this discount. And I was so nervous to tell them. And one day I was like, you know, I have to do this for myself. I have to do this for them. And most people were actually way more understanding than I thought. They were a little bit like, Anissa, why didn't you tell me? I would have been happy to pay the higher pricing. And some people are like, that's a bit out of my budget. We're probably going to need to stretch out the appointments, and you know, it's all good. But once I was able to start showing up for myself in that way by charging everyone the same pricing, everything else in my business started to flow a lot better. So I think if you can get rid of that blockage and really dial in on your mindset on that and shift that, things are going to flow a lot better.
I totally agree. It's one of those problems that surface level feels like very structurally broken, but the reality is it's emotionally and mentally broken. And that's the hard stuff. And you're exactly right. Like, that's the work that's going to count in a situation like this. I love that. Carly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Anissa really hit the nail on the head, that it does have to do with kind of the old versus the new pricing and balancing the pricing first. And I think, Britt, I wanted to check, you said she's fully booked out 8 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah. And so that's another piece she's trying to manage. And she was trying the like no pre-booking, and you can't get in as often, but then that's not really fixing anything either right now.
Yeah, I mean, doing a price increase for her, essentially for her older clients or existing clients, to bring them up to balance all the pricing, you may lose clients, but that kind of is the point. We're trying to get you to a point where you're not booked out solidly 8 weeks where nobody can come in to see you, because that's where, you know, your business can't grow from there. But I agree with Anissa that, again, it goes back to mindset is kind of always the hardest part of pricing. It's not about necessarily knowing what the next step is. It's just about figuring out sort of why you're feeling like you have to charge that. So I think that's fantastic.
I totally agree. And I like that Heidi said, you got to weed the garden for new flowers to grow. It's so completely true. You got to make room if you want new abundance. So true. Tyler, bring us home.
Okay, so this is purely an emotional decision that she's trying to make. And I personally have been here. And when we all nodded when she said it, you become resentful. And I think that something we need to consider, because it was so many different moving parts, is not only do we become resentful, but we stop doing our best and giving them our best. And so how are we even going to, let's say that she did do a wonderful referral program. What would they refer to? The old pricing with probably a subpar salon experience. That's not also what she's trying to attract. So when you really dive deep into like that emotional disconnection between the pricing and moving forward, you really have to ask yourself, when I went to my clients and I said, okay, I am changing this and I'm going to, you know, this is the pricing from here on out, I realized that I was giving them more than what I had been giving them. And I felt bad that I knew that by increasing my pricing, I was not only letting go of that resentment, but I was giving them the level that everyone else in my chair was getting, that I didn't really realize slowly stopped getting funneled their way because they weren't paying me for that. And so I think that it's a really vicious cycle that you have to stop doing, because again, you can't raise your prices and expect people just to like fall out all the time, because they'll stick with you. But then you also have to consider that if you do the referral programs and all this stuff, but you're not really understanding what it is you're trying to refer to, everything starts falling apart, and then you become a sinking stylist again, which isn't the case for her, obviously.
It's Such an incredibly great point. And we don't, and it goes back to the whole mindset and the emotional thing. Like, you don't even realize how much you're cheating your clients. You think you're doing them a solid, you think you're doing them a favor, you think you're making it easier, and actually nobody's winning in that scenario. But it's that fear of standing on the edge and saying, but what if this all falls apart, when the question could be like, but what if it all comes together and it's exactly what I always wanted it to be. So thank you for pouring into this thriver and giving her the hopefully renewed confidence to know that she can do this. Okay, we're going to get into a question from Heidi. So Heidi says, hey, Britt and team, on occasion, I have a guest come in for a color service, and then they decide they want to add on another service to the appointment. Could be a haircut, could be a root touch-up, could be a treatment. Sometimes when cashing clients out, I forget to charge them for the added service. Is this something I should take a loss on? Should I text them once I realize that I didn't charge them? Or do I charge them next time? Oh, this is such a fun question. Okay, here come the hands. I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say. I saw Gregory's hand up first. You go first.
So this does happen. Give yourself grace first, because we've all been there. I have a large team and I have operations staff, and, you know, things fall through the cracks sometimes. So it is what it is at that point. For me, as a customer service person for the majority of my life from age 15 on, I am really, really big on how this is presented to the client. And if it's our mistake, for me and my team, it's our job to eat it, because we did the wrong thing, if you will, not the client. Because I think about the perception of, if I call them, if I email them, or if I tell them at their next appointment, that there's this sort of like unplanned anti-present, because it's not a gift, it's actually like a take. How is that going to make them feel? How is it going to affect the quality of the service, just like in their brain? Because like, we know that we're going to do beautiful hair every time, but like, I want them, you know, to always leave with like the most positive thoughts, especially with any interaction, whether it's a call, an email, in my chair, at my front desk. It has to be a good thing. And if I'm doing anything that like adds even the smallest negative spin to it, it's just not the best way to operate, I think.
I love that perspective. All right, Hope, give it to us.
Okay, so I have one stylist that is, she might be on this call, that is like super guilty of this, and she knows who she is, and they will literally walk out the door, and 20 seconds later she'll go, crap, and she like freaks out about it at the front desk. So we implemented a plan for this person. So she always has a buddy. She does work with an assistant, or usually there's somebody at the front desk. So now we look at her and we go, is this ticket correct? Is everything listed on here? And so like, I'm not going to say she's not allowed to check out her own guests, but we have done this enough times now that now she goes, if she is checking out her own guests, is this ticket correct? Is everything on here? And like, we haven't literally had no issues in months, and she's a very, very booked person. So sometimes it's just creating something that's a habit. We get chatty and we forget. So if we can build a habit that's at the forefront of our mind to double check and not just read the number that the computer tells us to read, we can really save ourselves a lot of headache.
I love that idea of like, okay, so this system's not working for you. Let's safe proof it and give you something else that does. And it's literally just the reprogramming. Like, she has that, oh crap moment, and that can't possibly feel good. And it's like, okay, how do we prevent the oh crap so that nobody feels bad at the end? They're just structured to safe proof. I love that. Okay, Lauren.
So Gina in the chat was asking if like, we just like, don't ever say anything about it if we end up telling them. So like, I would make sure at the next appointment, because you don't want your client to come in and think that if they got, say, a conditioning treatment last time and it was $70, and this time now it's 120 or whatever your treatment service is, like the add-on, you want to make sure that you clarify and let you know, like, hey, last time I gifted you this part of the service. It was my fault, and I'm so glad to do that for you. I just want to let you know that today the price is this, because they might think now coming in that every time they go to get that service, it's the price that you gave it to them. So just make sure when they come in, you don't even necessarily have to clarify that you had a whoopsie-daisy, but make sure that you clarify the price before you start the service always. So that's just something I wanted to clarify for you.
I agree with literally every single one of your answers. I totally and completely agree. It's okay to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, you're probably going to have to eat it. Create systems so that you don't continue to make the mistake. And then when you do, the transparency and like, listen, this is what happened, won't happen again. Just so you know, I'm not gouging you this time around. Last time you got the blessing. Today you get the real deal. Happy Wednesday. And that's just how it is. I love that. I love that. We have another question coming in. Similar question. What if you're running behind and having to start on a client's hair? Oh, I love this. Having to start on a client's hair later than their scheduled appointment. So you're running late. Okay. Do you charge full price or discount the service because it's your fault? Because you were running behind. Is there anything you gift to the client to make up for it? Hope I saw you first.
Okay. So we have like a 20-minute max rule at my salon. And if we are running more than 20 minutes behind and like someone can't take you, because we do have assistants, we do have other people. So sometimes it's like the stylist might pause, come up and say, hey, Britt, I'm so sorry. Something happened with this client. We're working it out. I'll be done in 30 minutes or whatever. Is it okay if Carly shampoos you? No one cares, you know, our salon's super team based. So all of our clients like know everyone and they're going to say, oh yeah, if that can't happen, and you're running more than about 15 to 20 minutes behind, we gift a free conditioning treatment and they're up to a $40 value at my salon. We just tell them, you know, I'm so sorry for your wait. This is not how we do business, because you know what, if that client was late, I'm charging them. If they called me and canceled and it was in our cancellation window, I'm charging them. So same thing. If we have a stylist that calls in that morning because she has the flu, guess what? All of her clients for the day are owed a free conditioning treatment.
I totally agree. If we're going to have strict cancellation policies, it has to go both ways or it doesn't make very much sense. Carly.
I mean, same thing, honestly, as Coach Hope, I gift a treatment, but mine is usually 15 minutes. I'm in there working by myself most of the time in my studio. And so if I'm running more than 15 minutes late, usually I'll reach out to them ahead of time if I can to push them back. And almost always that works, but obviously things happen and you might be running a little bit late, but I would definitely, you know, give them something for it, because like you said, you're going to charge them for that 15 minutes. And it's just not fair to say, hey, I just can't finish blow drying you or something. That's not going to work.
Love that. So true. Tyler. Wait, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay. So quick story. The salon I came from previously recently had a very bad viral online review. And the review was simply due to the fact that the stylist was running 45 minutes behind and no one from the salon came up and talked to her. So she had made this time with her husband to pick up her kids, and she hadn't had her hair done in a long time. This was her first time in the salon and the first time that she walks in, and she gets greeted when she walks in and then ghosted for 45 minutes. And so when the stylist finally came up and said anything to her, she was like, I'm leaving. And even though she was going to be there for a couple more hours planned for, right? And what it came down to, she actually reached out to me after, shared her viral TikTok video because she has a lot of followers. And I was happy to make it a group chat. And I said, we're going to take this as a learning experience for our salon, that all she wanted to, I don't want to say it didn't matter that they were running 45 minutes. The fact that it wasn't acknowledged was what hurt her and upset her the most, and was unforgivable for her going forward with any service period with them. And while we made it right, I wanted my salon team to take it as like not a gossip session, but a really big learning moment to like the second anyone walks in our salon, we always greet them, but it's really easy to get kind of like spun up in a little anxiety and not track your time. If you just stop and say, give me just a minute, walk up and say, Bobby Sue, I am so sorry. This color's not going exactly as planned. Or in my case, sometimes like my extensions, I just can't even get my hands to work sometimes. I'm going to be a little late. If I would love it if you wanted to hang out here, I'm happy to get you. We have a whole snack bar and everything. You can turn on something on Netflix. Or if you have an errand to run and you just give me 30 minutes or whatever the case is, but acknowledging and not saying, oh, sorry, saying, I so appreciate your understanding. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with me as I'm going to make it right. But not acknowledging them goes so much more sideways than being late ever will.
That is so dang true. It's like everybody just wants to be seen, heard, and feel like they matter. And when that person sits there waiting, or you show up 20 minutes late, like, hey, okay, finally ready, let's get started, as if it was no big deal, that they do feel instantly unimportant. Their time does not matter very clearly. And you're exactly right. It's like, take the accountability, be transparent. You're always going to get the better result. So good. Kind of another side question came in on the backside of all this. This is from Melanie. Do you pay the stylist commission on a no-show fee? Do you pay them their hourly? I've had this come up before too, Hope.
Yes, I do. So we bring it into the system like as a ticket. So we target, like we check them out as a no-show. I don't know if your booking system does that, but ours does. So we can track like how many times they've canceled, how many times they've no-showed. So we can see if it's like a red flag client is what we refer to them as. But yes, we just create a new ticket. It's called rebooking fee. And then depending on what the fee is, it goes into the system. And then it's just a commission split how it normally would be. So the salon still reaps some cash off of that, but the stylist also gets paid something for their time as well.
Split the loss, split the gain. Gregory?
So I do something almost identical, but I have tried my hardest to give my employees some autonomy as part of being an employee, because I feel like that's one of the main reasons that they leave, to be independent. So we do a lot of pretty extensively long color services, sometimes 2.5 to 4 hours. They get the choice of getting their normal commission split with the no-show fee if they choose to stay in the salon, stay present, and continue to work and, you know, do Thrivers, work on your marketing, but you do not get to sit in the break room for 4 hours and eat lunch and collect a check. You do have the option of leaving for that entire time if you want, but you also don't get paid for it. So I'm like, I don't want somebody to sit there for 4 hours if there's not something for them to work on, because I know that's bad kind of for their psyche, but it's also like it has to work for both parties. So exactly the same thing as Hope. That's just another option kind of that we offer as part of that.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, happy to continue to support paying you if you're happy to continue being here working. And if you are not in your salon, that's okay. You can choose to leave the building and not be getting paid, or you can choose to be here, be present, and continue to be active. And that choice is yours. And I think that's very fair. Life is all about choices, and you can make the one that makes the sense for you. I love that. Okay, let's pivot a second. We're going to talk about assistants for a minute. This is from Tammy. Tammy says, I have 2 questions about assistants. I work with an assistant and they do the finishing work for me. I only apply the color and then they take over. How do I calculate this? I'm going to assume finishing work is just a blowout, but I honestly don't know. Maybe she means cut 2. I'm not sure. Number 2, during a color correction or a vivid, the assistant will apply the glaze or vivid with me and mix additional color bowls. This means I am paying the assistant and myself. How do I factor in that extra expense? So I'm going to sum it up again. Number 1, I work with an assistant. They do the finishing work for me. I only apply the color and then they take over. How do I calculate this? So basically they're saying, how can you use the pricing calculator and or navigate working with an assistant and all of these additional dynamics that become a part of that process? Hope.
Okay, so we have a lot of assistants at my salon. So there's 16 of us currently. I think we have at the moment, because we just hired a bunch, like 5 assistants, something like that. 6, I'm not sure, 5 or 6, it's a lot. We pay them hourly. And how we calculate that, I guess my question to you is, what are you doing during what they're doing? Like, are you taking a lunch break? Are you double booking? Are you doing the payroll? Like, what are you doing? Because me personally, I think this is probably more opinion than fact, because it depends on your business. But like my stylist, if you're going to have an assistant, like they have an assistant because they're like hella busy. Like if you are, you know, assistant is shampooing, blow drying, toning, styling, checking out the guest, whatever's going on. The only time that stylist is not actually working is if they're taking like a 20 to 30 minute lunch break while you're doing that. And then you're flip flopping, and then the assistant is breaking after, you know, that process. You don't just get to sit and have an assistant because you don't want to do the work that is not profitable. And it's also not going to teach your assistant to be a profitable person in your salon later, which is, I'm assuming, what they're going to be there for.
I'm looking for my unmute. I love that you talked about that. The amount of time people reach out to me and they're like, I'm starting to get exhausted. I'm thinking about hiring an assistant. And my first question is like, is the only reason you're doing it because you're tired? Because this is not going to work out. That's not how assisting works. It's not how it's profitable. It's not how it's motivating. It's just not systematically how it's even sustainable. And you're actually both going to end up doubly burnt out, because if you think bringing on an assistant just simply makes life easier, that could not be further from the reality of what it's actually like. So I love that you spoke to the fact of like, if you're really working with an assistant, it should be because you're so damn busy. This is how you get through your day. And also that you really want to build and grow that person. And you're right, it is part of a bigger conversation. I absolutely love that clarifier. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Gregory.
I'm really big on assistants being there to elevate your guest experience, not rush your guest experience. So for me, because I'm a very hands-on person, and like, in all honesty, I do very traditional hair color. Like I don't balayage and chatter root and do all these things all day. Like I can and I will, but the clientele that I market to are traditional foil highlights that are very heavy and gray coverage. And I know that 9 times out of 10, because they're all very busy stay-at-home moms that just cherish that interaction with another grown human being, that they're really like, they're paying for time with me and like the hair is just the icing on the cake. So if I'm utilizing an assistant, I'm trying to make sure that they're helping me with aspects that are not like necessarily my hands-on portion. Like I love shampooing my clients. Like that is a connection time for me. I've done lots of training. I know that it's not like, it shouldn't be special, but that's just like a time for us to kind of bond. And I have them help me double team a blow dry. I tend to do the front while they do the back. I try to make them part of it, but it's also a way to elevate the guest experience and make me look better, not in a conceited way, but it makes me look more educated when I'm explaining something to somebody else. And like my clients love hearing it. Like it makes them feel more confident in the person being trained, makes them feel more confident in me. And it just all around like makes it a little bit more of a team-based vibe too. And we're all kind of like hands-on together.
I totally and completely agree. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you kind of clarified, like, how does this look and feel to the client? What is the client getting from this experience? Am I positioning this? And are you getting the support you need where you need it in a way that still serves the guest? It's not just selfish support, or you're not just trying to make another buck. It's like, does this really systematically make sense for me and my business? Such a good reminder. So good. Okay, we're going to pivot for a second. This is from Sarah. Sarah says, I'm in a season of life where the demands of my family is plenty, and I want to really enjoy it, not take the responsibility of being a large salon owner or travel. I'm a suite owner, and I scaled down to dream hours thanks to Britt, 2 8-hour weekdays, and making more than I ever did for years, working 4 long days, missing a ton of family time in years past. I love it and could stay in this place for several more years, I feel like. But I don't want to lose what I gained or become bored or stagnant. What are all the options for those of us who want to keep ourselves elevated and aren't ready to get completely out from behind the chair? First of all, I'm obsessed with this question. I'm going to bring it to the room, but I'm obsessed with this question because this is so the scalar's problem of like, you achieve the dream life, like everything that you worked for. And then the now what question hits, and people, when they're still in the grind, they don't realize that that is what is waiting for you at the summit. Like until you've reached it, you don't realize, oh yeah, 100%, Lauren. It's like, it's standing there waiting for you to get there. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now what? And you totally can't plan for it or call it. So I'd love to dig into this one. Hope you get us started.
Okay, so I actually talked to Britt about this probably like 8 weeks ago, because we have a couple stylists at my salon that they're in the same boat, and they said, hey, we need to have a meeting with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who died? Because that's instantly what I think when these two say anything, because they worked for me for like a decade. And they don't really want to be managers or move into like an administrative role. Like, I don't really take guests anymore. They don't want to do that. They want to take guests. They like that. So one of them is, well, actually they both are trainers in our salon now. One's a makeup artist, one's a hairstylist. So the makeup artist has taken over training all of our new apprentices, putting them through that program. The hairstylist has really kind of taken over the lead as far as our whole training and development apprenticeship program goes within our salon for stylists. So for them, that was really kind of like a level up where they still got to take guests, but they also got to develop the new people. They've also been doing interviews with me to be like, yeah, we're not going to hire that person. And sometimes they catch things that I don't. And honestly, they have also said like, I think we should hire this person. And I've been kind of like, and then we hired that person and I was like, oh, okay, I was wrong. This is great, because we all see different things. So it kind of goes both ways. So if if you are alone and you're a sweet person and you're not in a big team, it may not be something like that. But I also think on the flip side of that, sometimes you just need to bask in the success for a second and say like, that quote that's like, 5 years ago, it's like, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like 5 years ago, you were praying for like where you would be today type of thing or something like that. Like, here we are. So, maybe there's not a what's next. Maybe there's just a do really amazing things and next year raise your prices and just keep doing that. We don't have to be in this grind mindset all of the time of the what is next. Sometimes we just get to reach the summit and stand on the mountaintop and set up camp.
Lauren just took a giant exhale, just hearing you say that. She was like, yeah, let's just let it breathe. I love that so much. Carly, to you.
Coach Hope always just says the thing that I'm like, yes, yours is way better than mine, but I'm gonna just give my personal experience. I am someone who made a massive shift in my business last year. I was I'm still a salon owner, but I was a bigger salon owner. So I owned a rental salon that had commission stylists at one point, but we had quite a big team and it was a large salon. And I had this feeling like I need to keep tacking on things, keep putting them on my plate until I reached a point where I was like, I'm not seeing my children anymore. And I am burnt out and exhausted. And you know what? I don't love running a team. I had to really look at myself and go, you know what, that's not for me. I've scaled back to only working by myself. I've tacked on coaching, but that's something that's really lighting me up. And I think that as someone who comes from that place of like, what's next and like looking for the thing, I totally agree with Hope that sometimes you just have to enjoy it. Like, are you seeing your kids more? Are you getting more time for yourself? Do you feel really good right now where you're at? If so, enjoy that for a little while. And then maybe, again, like she said, maybe a coaching or a teaching or mentoring or bringing on an assistant or something like that down the road makes sense for you. And maybe you just continue to work a smaller shift. I work 2 days a week behind the chair. It's just enough to do the clients that I love, making the money I want to make, but I don't have a desire to add anything on top of that. So yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the.
Can I potentially bring it back to you, Carly, and ask you maybe a little bit of a vulnerable, uncomfortable question?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So you chose the path of like, okay, great, I'm going to be a salon owner, which is very much like, I remember in beauty school, I was like, okay, great. So you rent a chair, like somehow out of beauty school, you just immediately rent a chair. Like you have the money to do it. Great. And then you become a salon owner in a few years. And like, that's the path. Like, I don't know if that was your story, but that was definitely mine. And I thought that's where you were supposed to end up. And you got there, like you earned it. You were a salon owner with the team. And then you decide this is not for me. Was there any part of you when you like realized at some point, like, this is not for me? How was that process for you mentally?
Horrible. It was a big journey, and it took a couple of years. And honestly, it took the pandemic. There was a moment in 2020 where I turned to my husband and I said, I think I'm ready to let the salon go. And it was like the hardest sentence I've ever said. I feel like goosebumps thinking about it now, but it was really emotional because when you sort of, like you said, you sort of have this idea that that's the mountaintop and to be a salon owner. And also everyone keeps telling you like, you're supposed to be a leader. You're great. You're a great owner. But if it doesn't light you up, it doesn't light you up. And for me, I felt like I was doing a disservice to my renters because I could not show up for them in the way that they needed. They needed a leader. And that's hard to kind of come to terms with when you're like, I was not the leader that I needed to be. And that's the season of life that I'm in now. And so I think you have to be really honest with yourself. If you're someone who's wanting to open a salon, if you are a salon owner and you're thinking about like, I don't know if this is the right path for me, you have to just ask yourself that question. Like, is this really what I want? Because it is tough being a salon owner. Everyone can, I'm sure that's here, that's a salon owner can attest to that. And it's a beautiful journey and it's the right journey for a lot of people, but it's also just as amazing and beautiful and wonderful if you are someone who wants to work for somebody else. And that can be a really great experience too.
I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you for opening your heart so beautifully on that one. I think it's definitely inspiring for me, and I think it's inspiring to the room as well. And I'm an outsider, but I look at your life now and your life is pretty damn good. And I think about the way you're able to show up for your kids, and like, would you have been able to join me as a coach if you were still a salon owner? We don't know. Like, it may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. And it was like, you let something good go to open yourself up to greatness, which was such a bold and brave choice. And I just think it's very, very inspiring and makes me very proud of you. So congratulations. And thank you for sharing that with all of us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
I want to turn it back to Hope really briefly on that note too. So Hope said in the chat, so again, we're going to go vulnerable here. Hope said there was a time I wasn't the leader that I wanted to be. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was really young when my business started, so I'm gonna spill the beans on this call. Okay, I'm not a licensed cosmetologist. I don't know if you guys know that. I am a certified airbrush makeup artist in the state of Indiana. That is like a legal thing that you can do here. You don't have to be a licensed cosmetologist or esthetician to provide makeup services or even lash extension services here. You used to not have to do massage therapy. There's a whole lot of stuff here you don't actually have to be licensed to do. I never thought I would end up here. I actually have 2 college degrees. When I was in college, I got a job working freelance for MAC because my mom actually used to do makeup. And so I was extremely knowledgeable in everything because I've grown up around it. I mean, I can remember I was like 5-year-old in kindergarten with like sprayed mall bangs and like pink blush and red lipstick because that was just my mother, right? And so that's just my life. And super knowledgeable. It was a really great wage for someone that was like 18, 19. And within like 6 weeks, I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to drop out of college and I'm going to go to beauty school. And she was actually kind of like, okay, well, if that's what you really want to do, like my parents are always really supportive about stuff, but she's like, I think you should like really think about this. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, actually, I don't like to touch wet hair. I still don't. Like, I dry heave if I have to clean out the shampoo bowl. So people are just like, go away. You're making us all gag. Like, it's the going salon joke. And I attend all the classes, so I'm really knowledgeable with color formulations and things because I'm super about the color wheel, but like, you don't want me to even attempt to cut your hair. It will end up very poorly. I think that getting an outside perspective from somebody that didn't go to beauty school, I have different life experience. So I bring a different game to my business and to my stylists, but they also bring a different game to me. So when that comes together, it's really a beautiful thing. And I was really young. So I started freelancing on my own at 19. Within 6 months, I had hired an assistant because I was very busy. And then within a year, a lot of my clients were like, I wish you did hair. And I was like, well, I don't. And I decided I'm not going to. So I ended up hiring people to do that. And it was really like, I had my work was really great. And my personal business skills were really great. My leadership skills had not been developed. It was like total trial and error. So I screwed up as a leader, like time and time again. And I tell my new people, 15 years down the road, because I've been doing this 15 years, I say, first day, I look at them and I say, you're going to screw stuff up, not just on the business side, but you're going to screw up somebody's hair. And you're probably going to do it in the next month. And you know what? It's okay. And I'm just going to tell you that on your first day right now. And I say, the only thing I expect from that is a learning experience. And then you're never going to do that again. You know, it's only a problem if we don't learn from the mistakes and we continue to repeat the same things over and over. And so by my unfortunate early guinea pigs that worked for me, I've really been able to grow and become a better leader throughout time, just with development kind of on the job.
I really, really appreciate you sharing that and sharing that, like, you weren't just born perfectly brilliant and knew exactly how to be a salon owner and everything was flawless from the start, that you were able to overcome challenges and make some mistakes and maybe make some massive misfires with some employees in the past. And look how far you've come. I just think that gives so much hope to those who are maybe in that boat right now of like, I can't hire anybody. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not educated enough. Maybe they're not licensed or whatever it is. The cards are stacked against them. And it's like, if you have the focus, if you have the drive, if you have the patience, if you have the will, you can totally and completely get there. And you are the proof. So thank you for sharing your story. I also want to thank you for talking about wet hair, because you set the chat on fire with stories about hairballs and cheese scalp and all kind of wet, soggy hair chatter, which is clearly something we're all very passionate about. So thank you for allowing us to have that moment. Always such a joy. Y'all, thank you so much for being here today. Is anybody else hooked on Coaches Roundtables as much as I am? If I could just 8 hours a day do this is all I would do all the time. It is always such a pleasure to chat with you all. Thank you all for sharing your hearts, your souls, your minds, everything with us today. Replay of this will go up in the portal if anybody wants to hear it another time. I think Leilani said she wants to hear it 12 times, so don't worry, it's coming back for you. As I always like to say, so much love, happy business building, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.